Good morning, and how are you today? Great to see you. Today I want to make a different type of Blaand and a different type of sherry. So I want to combine the two and make a Blaand Sherry. I really rate my oxidized wines and sherries. They are something, I don't know, magical. They are a different method of winemaking. And also, Blaand is quite unique as well, flavour-wise. I really love my Blaands, as you probably know. So I want to try and combine the sherry and the Blaand flavours. So I have already separated my curds from my whey. You can see how I do this in this video up by here, all about cheese making and curds and whey. For the Blaand, you want the whey, you want the liquid. I have donated the curds to my wife, my wonderful Dee, so that she can make a few Lithuanian treats and cakes and cheesecakes and recipes and things. So you can see what she does with them up in this video, or maybe even a playlist by here. Go and check it out. If you want to see how I made my standard Blaand, the recipe is down in the description below, as well as the pinned comment. My whey has cooled, so I want to now reheat it and add some sugar. Get my camping stove on, warm up the whey. You don't want to bring it to the boil, just enough to dissolve the sugar into it. I'm going to put in 1.2 to 1.3 kilograms of sugar. I want to bring that sweetness level up higher than I would do for a generic Blaand. With sherries, you always want to aim for the higher end of the spectrum on your hydrometer. It's a precaution against the wine, the sherry, turning into vinegar. So now, we need to put in 1.3 kilograms of sugar into the pot. And give that a really good stir around. You just want to heat the whey enough to dissolve all that sugar. If you see some curds floating around, that is perfectly fine. They will separate out in the demijohn and they will settle and sink to the bottom. If you make wines at home, have you tried making a sherry yet? Let me know down in the comments below if you have and how it turned out. Did you mean to make a sherry, or was it an accidental sherry? I really rate sherries. They are a different dimension of wine and winemaking. Lovely stuff. My sugar has dissolved into the whey. That's brilliant. So you want to grab yourself a clean, sterilised, sanitised, perfectly spotless demijohn and siphon or pour your whey liquid into the demijohn. Personally, I never have any luck with pouring. I'd never find my funnel, and when I do, I make a great big mess. So I'm going to be siphoning it. What I like to do with my demijohns, if I'm siphoning something with a few clumps and lumps, like the curds, I like to put a pair of tights over the neck of the demijohn and then siphon into there. It just catches a few of those chunks. It does not matter if the curds go into the demijohn. They will settle to the bottom and then you can rack off as you would do any other wine. So simply give it a suck, get it in the demijohn. Fantastic. Whilst that is going into the demijohn, the sherry element. Initially, I'm going to ferment this the standard way you would do for a wine. Airlock with liquid in and let it ferment until the specific gravity drops right the way down to nearly dry. Then I simply remove the airlock, wrap it up with a bandage. You can check out my other video on how to make sherry up by here for the full process. If I am making a gallon's worth of wine, I will also separate the gallon into two demijohns so they're both half full. You want to maximise the oxygen exposure to the biggest surface area you can. And it really works a treat. And I can't wait to try this Blaand Sherry. I need a better name for it. Blaand is an original Norse name, but sherry is... it doesn't quite fit together. Blaand Sherry. I need a better name for it. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments below. Right then, that's filling up nicely. Well, hey, ready, done. My whey came from a gallon of wine, and that has pretty much filled up my demijohn up to the shoulder, which is perfect, which is brilliant. And I'm not going to top that up at all now, because ideally you want a lot of surface area to come into contact with your oxygen from your open doobry. Airlock, that's what it's called, not a doobry. Doobry's remote control for the TV. Right. Then with the stocking, it's simply a case of putting it out, and it's caught all those curds by there. And then we need to sprinkle in a high alcohol wine yeast into your demijohn. I say high alcohol, you can use a general purpose wine yeast, but you want the yeast to work through all that sugar, and you want to make the sherry as strong as you can get it. So sprinkle in your yeast. And attach your airlock. So I'm going to set my Blaand aside to ferment in a warm place and be back to check it in about a week. Then hopefully we can commence with the sherry element of it, and we'll see how it's going. So I'll be back with you in a minute now. Well, hey, how are you doing today? My Blaand, my sherry Blaand, is looking beautiful now. It's been fermenting away in the demijohn, and that alcohol level has risen up to about 10% at the moment, which is where I want it to proceed to the next stage. I've done a bit of research as well about what I should call my Blaand sherry, but apparently Samuel Pepys, this famous diary keeper from the 1660s, used to drink a sherry made from whey, and it was called Sack Whey, which is fantastic. And he used to really rate the stuff. He'd buy bottles and bottles of the stuff, and he loved his cheese, he did. So I'm going to be calling this Sack Whey. Great idea. Anyway, once your Blaand sherry has reached about 10% in the demijohn, you then want to exchange your airlock for one without any liquid in. And I also like to wrap a bandage around my airlock to stop any flies or bugs or debris getting into the airlock and then into the sherry you're making. It will keep everything bug-free and debris-free, and that's what you want. So simply wrap up your airlock. Doesn't have to be very good. No one's going to be assessing your skills in bandaging, and that will allow your sherry to become oxidized. This Sack Whey is going to be brilliant. It's an old-fashioned drink going back to the 1660s. That's the earliest reference I can find for this Blaand sherry, this Sack Whey. So I'm recreating it. I love experimenting with wines and flavours, especially old recipes, old recipes, and trying to bring them back to the table, because I really think these older recipes really deserve to be given a second chance and be put back on the table. So I'm going to let this stand and carry on fermenting away, and then just leave it. If it builds up a bit of sediment on the base, that is fine. That is perfectly acceptable for sherries. That dead yeast does add a lot of character to the sherry. And then I'll bottle down the line, maybe 3 months, 6 months, I don't know yet. Generally, the longer you leave a sherry to oxidize, the more powerful and tasty it becomes. But I just can't wait to try this Sack Whey Blaand sherry. So why don't you join me for that taste test review that I'm going to do down the line? So subscribe down below, and in the meantime, why not check out one of these videos up by here, and I'll see you all soon. Have fun now.